everybody, and welcome back to Rewind the Tape. This time, we are talking what is arguably considered one of the worst superhero movies of all time. It is Batman and Robin. I am your friendly neighborhood mixed soda syndrome, joined by my wingman, Ben Wing. How you doing, man?
Hey, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun.
This
It's
is
a little long range, maybe, but it's going to be fun.
there's going to be a lot of ridicule, and joining us once again is our friend Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Trust me when I say I understand the ridicule. I understand everything about it, but given today's crop of superhero films and the crop of superhero films that came out in the 90s and even in the 80s, people have got some basic ass standards.
Oh, well, of course. But yeah, so we are talking the movie Batman and Robin, the movie that Joel Schumacher has multiple times apologized for. George Clooney apparently has been known to refund people their movie ticket money back for. But yeah, okay, let's ask this. Do you remember the first time you saw this?
I believe so. The problem is I'm just trying to remember exactly when, because I know that as a kid, my dad owned both Batman Returns, and then we got Batman Forever for us. We loved it. So I think my siblings, I believe we begged our dad to take us to see this in theaters. So I do recall that I saw this in theaters. So I did enjoy myself watching this film, actually. I mean, it didn't make much of an impression on me in the theater because, I think as a 8 to 9 year old kid in the theater, I guess, I don't know. I had no interest in the movie theater. It was more like watching it at home. That's where it stuck with me. But
Gotcha.
even then, I love the visuals of this film. I honestly, despite I know we're going to talk about this later, I definitely enjoyed Clooney as Batman and Arnold as Mr. Freeze. I mean, they were my favorite takeaways as a kid. Rewatching it like years later and even now, to be honest.
Brennan?
What's up, Brennan? To be honest, I find more positive stuff to say about this film than everyone else does.
What about you, Ben? When was the first time do you remember the first time you saw this?
I remember watching bits and pieces as a kid, and even as a kid, I was like, this is weird. I don't know why. I don't think I was supposed to be liking this. It wasn't until I was like a teenager where I finally sat down and watched it from top to bottom, and I was like, this isn't Batman. I don't know what this is. This ain't Batman.
Well, that's the thing. It is and it isn't. Like the producer Michael Uslan, who has produced every Batman movie since '89, has said if you look at those original four, they do follow different decades of Batman. And Batman and Robin is clearly 1960s Batman.
I think it takes elements of the 60s Batman, but it's still its own thing. Like it's trying to, because when we talk about Batman Forever, I know because if you look at all Batmans from Burton's '89 to Returns to Batman Forever, everything was changing from there. And the first Batman, it was honestly one of the more grounded comic book films that was put out. And when Batman Returns came, exactly. But when Batman Returns came, this was Tim Burton going all out, infusing his whole style into the film. So
because they gave him free reign of Batman Returns, pretty much.
Exactly. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. This was just more this. All four of these Batmans represent the studio not understanding the property they had in their hands.
Agreed.
Unfortunately, and with Returns, with someone like Tim Burton, if they had just maybe. Look, as much as I hate studio interference, if the studio at least had somebody take a look at Burton's designs, because I don't know if I mentioned this when I was here for Forever, but I did see a video on, I believe, Cracked, where they talked about the whole breakdown of the behind-the-scenes issues with Batman Returns that led to Schumacher getting Batman Forever, and mainly it all had to do with pretty much just toy marketing. Like every fucking thing that happens in the DC, whatever it's cartoons, movies, TV shows, everything falls down to toy marketing.
Of course.
But I do say that with Batman and Robin, this was 100% the most toned down. Well, I mean, I don't mean toned down in violence, but there's plenty of violence in this. I mean, this was more of the, this is the most safest Batman movie.
For sure.
Second to Adam West.
That's what I was gonna say. It is easily the most accessible for kids outside of Adam West's Batman. And I was 10 years old when this came out, so I was right in that demographic. I had the Batgirl. I had a couple Batgirl action figures actually. I had them all. I watched this movie a lot on VHS. I didn't get a chance to see it in theaters, but I did have it in VHS. I watched it quite a bit, and then it wasn't until in the 20s, when I'm in my 20s, when I bought the DVD set that came out and I watched it, I'm like, this is not that great. But rewatching it this time with a subjective mind, there are some really cool moments. No, I'm not talking dialogue or anything like that. There are just these snippets where I'm like, that looks like Batman. For example,
when you take scenes by themselves, like outside of the greater picture,
you cut out all the dialogue and you just look at the visuals. And I'm talking the scene in the tower at the end of the movie when he rescues the two scientists and he's swinging around on the bat. What do you call it?
Using a rappel,
it looks like Batman. So there are those moments, but unfortunately, they're few and far between.
I will also say this: there are some great scenes in there. Like one thing I do enjoy with this Batman Robin looking at now is the relationship between Alfred, Bruce, and Dick Grayson. As much as everyone, of course, when we look at visuals, when we talk about Robin's suit, I've heard a lot of this even now. They're all going, "This isn't Robin, this is Nightwing," and I understand from the costume outfit. But even then, this is still Robin because we have no idea how long this takes in time. This is still Robin and Bruce. They're so well into their partnership with each other that Bruce, while he's still a little bit of like an overprotective brother to him, he still trusts Dick Grayson to handle himself out there on the field, which is why I like with Mr. Freeze really testing Batman's morality, that one scene where he freezes Robin. I like the fact that, unfortunately, Bruce, instead of admitting to himself that Freeze got the better of him, he makes a choice to punish Robin for doing something he could have done also in his youth as well, which to me, it does show like there is Bruce. He's trying to be a mentor, but still trying to hold off being personal. And while Robin does come off very whiny throughout this film, I do like in that scene where he brings up a good point. I made a mistake. It's not going to happen. Yeah. This can't be a partnership unless you don't trust me. And while it's regurgitated throughout that, I feel this movie does bring two examples of where Robin is right, that Batman is very controlling. It's honestly, to personally, especially having to watch through, and anyone who's watching this, I'm sorry, but not sorry, the garbage that is Titans, this is a better portrayal of a Batman and Robin relationship.
I'm going to state for that because I've only seen a couple episodes.
Okay. I've only seen, I stopped midway in the second season. I've only heard stuff about the third season, but even then, the portrayal of the Batman and Robin relationship just wasn't working for me.
That's fair. So let's just get right into it. So the fourth installment of the Batman franchise, this one centers around the villain Mr. Freeze, who has gone evil because of the near death of his wife, Lady Freeze. Also introducing Poison Ivy, the deadliest plant lover in the world, who will get pissed off if you fuel with Mother Nature. Poison Ivy, whilst controlling the strong, buff villain Bane, develops into Mr. Freeze's sidekick, while ironically she only causes trouble between the Dark Knight himself and the Boy Wonder. The villains plot to freeze Gotham and to be the only remaining humans on the planet, but Batman and Robin must come together despite the differences and their butler Alfred's deadly illness that only Freeze has the cure for. They find help from Heroine, Batgirl, while they plan to defeat Freeze, Ivy, and Bane. Let's just start off with the heroes.
Okay.
I kind of agree with you a little bit when it comes to George Clooney. He said, I don't think he's a good Batman. I think he's a great Bruce Wayne. I'm on the opposite side of that myself.
You're not wrong. He is a great Bruce Wayne, but I still think he's a good Batman. I mean, he's good enough to where, you know what? Before I continue on, Ben, I saw you were going to say something, so go for it.
No, I mean, I don't know. I like Batman. I like Robin. They're all moments where they work for me.
Ta-da. The only one I could find with all three of them.
Yeah.
Bring that up for a second, please. Bring that up. I really think that is a good looking Bat family right there.
It is. And I'm not gonna lie, I do like Robin's suit out of the three.
Yeah. I mean, despite the costume design of the silver paint, this is honestly technically Batgirl's is very good compared to, you get rid of that silver stripe where his crotch area is for Nightwing and Batman.
Which is
These
weird.
are pretty good. These are very good costume designs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much so they actually made a Funko Pop of the Batman.
Yeah,
Right.
it is hilarious on the culture where everyone wants to continuously crap on this film, and yet when memorabilia and stuff about this film comes out, people will be the first to buy them. Now, I'm not saying like us, where we're saying like this is a bad movie. I'm talking about the nerd fans I've come across on Reddit or on Twitter or anywhere where you even just say, I enjoyed Batman Robin as a kid and I enjoy it now, and then they'll just go, are you crazy? Batman is the worst movie in the world. It didn't even succeed at the box office.
Which is bullshit. It was the highest grossing Warner Brothers movie that year.
Exactly. When I see those comments, I roll my eyes really hard because
out of the four of them, it was also the lowest grossing. So.
Well, yes, out of the four of them, but even then, it made back its budget. It was able to make back in its marketing. This movie made a profit. The only downside was the studio really could have gone to make a third movie with Schumacher in preparation.
There was plans for it.
Yeah, it's just the fans weren't there because they did notice the drop in the box office. That's all.
So it was a budget of $160 million, and it brought in 238.2. So
yeah.
Now, for all we know, though, it could have still technically could have been a flop because I don't know if that's including marketing and all that stuff. Because remember, there was a lot of toys. It was everywhere. I was telling Ben last week off camera, Kellogg's. I don't know if this was like this in the States, but in America up here, Kellogg's had like those 3D like cards on the front of their box where you would like turn it one way and the costumes would change. I had that for Batman and Robin. Like I said, I had some of the toys. I had the soundtrack. I had some of the novelizations. Like there was just so much stuff everywhere.
I get it. I don't know if Kellogg's had that in America, but I do know that there was marketing. I know through McDonald's. I can't remember if any other place like Burger King or maybe Wendy's was doing that, but I just know that I of course I don't have any of those products now, but I do know there was a lot of Batman and Robin like toys or marketing happening to where you have to be blind or incessantly like insane not to go see this film.
Pretty much. Like this was my aunt and uncle's first date, and they're still together.
Nice.
And this is definitely a movie for kids because the last time they were in town, their two kids were staying over, and I said, you know what? Let's watch the movie that let's watch Batman and Robin, and they liked it. It's definitely geared for kids.
Okay, I have a question, guys. Do you think this movie would have been better if it only had either Mr. Freeze or Poison Ivy as a villain and not have them team up?
I honestly was not against them becoming a partnership towards near the end of the film. I guess one thing I was just against was the motivations, especially the way they constructed for Ivy, to where Ivy comes in as this she's transformed through science and nature and becomes this human plant hybrid. She comes to Gotham and it looks like she's about to do her own thing. Then Freeze interrupts. Then all of a sudden she turns into an anime schoolgirl to where she's like, she'll do anything for Mr. Freeze.
Yep.
And I'm going, of course, looking at that, even I thought that was a ridiculous plot line. And well, I shouldn't say even I thought that. I didn't care for that plot line. Looking back at it now, I go, that weakens her character, especially in the beginning, where it seemed that she was so pro-feminine, where she just did not want the assistance. I'm not saying no assistance of men, but just she was very smart and sound of body. But unfortunately, when she turns, she all of a sudden, and even then, it looks like she still has the smarts and the reason and logic not to let power-hungry men, be a part, control her. I can understand with Freeze, he doesn't care about power. He's focused on one goal. But even then, for Ivy to call Mr. Freeze a god or to bust him out as if she's going to get some woohoo favors from him felt kind of weird.
Yeah, let's bring up the picture of the villains here right now. Like, they look great I'm on the camp of if they were going to just use a henchman, they should not have made Bane a henchman. They should have just done something else because Bane, when done right, is a great character.
This could have been Killer Croc, honestly, instead of Bane.
Could have been Killer Croc.
Because Killer Croc... Oh, go for it, Ben. Yeah.
I mean, that would have been very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I'm just saying that. I think they could have done that. Yeah.
Actually, I think I remember, Ben, in one of the Northern Unwinds we were pitched when you were doing like a little pitch for Batman and Robin. I did pitch that Killer Croc instead of Bane could have been the henchman, and the reason why it works is because, unfortunately, in most adaptations, especially in the Batman anime series, Killer Croc was made to look like a very muscle-bound villain, but not too bright.
Yeah.
And especially with the green skin you have with Bane there with all that venom, it could have been and it could have tied in perfectly with the Jason Woodrow character they had, because Jason Woodrow is someone who's obsessed with, the Floronic Man. Yeah, he's someone who's been obsessed with plants. Killer Croc could have been they could have done Killer Croc either as a science experiment, or he could have been an actual human with reptilian features that Woodrow was experimenting on to maybe fuse with plants. Poison Ivy finds him, and through certain circumstances, they become a partnership where Killer Croc, you can still do the whole, he grunts, he's, only speaking in a couple words. Like, you can still have Killer Croc do that, and especially with him being almost like an animal-human hybrid, it even works more with Poison Ivy's little agenda with plants should be the dominant species instead of humans.
That's right. And we are just 4 years removed from Bane's debut, where it's arguably still his greatest story, where he shows up, breaks the back mentally, and then breaks him physically.
Yes.
Can I make a side tangent real quick?
Of course.
I know it's bad to say anything good about that Suicide Squad movie from a few years ago. Mm-hmm. But I always say this: I love Killer Croc in that Suicide Squad movie.
That was someone more suited for that henchman type role.
Yeah. That was a great Killer Croc, honestly, because of the way they used him very lightly. They didn't have him speak much. He did show off a little bit of animal traits, but even ultimately in the end, he was still someone who was of sound in mind. He just, kind of not relented, but he just kind of, he allowed himself to be treated like that. Like, I like that scene between him and Rick Flag, where Flag says, "Why they put you in there?" I asked them. And even then, the way they feed him, throwing just raw meat to him, like, you can see as if this is it. Those scenes kind of tell that there's a bit of psychological trauma done to him, to where, he's been treated like an animal so much to where, he puts up with it. I think this is not me asking for an Ayer cut. This is just me going like, even with Killer Croc in the comics, and now there's more humanity instilled in that character.
Well, I will say this one more thing about Killer Croc. There's nothing saying he can't come up on Peacemaker. I'm just saying. It is the same universe. That's all I'm saying.
I do want to circle back to Uma Thurman for a moment, though, because I said to Ben the other day, Uma Thurman did a great job of portraying Poison Ivy, because she knew what movie she was in. And I think she's skilled enough of an actress. If they put her as that character in a more serious movie, she would have pulled that off as well. I think she was a great Poison Ivy.
I agree. I think
she looks like Poison Ivy, and her portrayal of Poison Ivy, especially when we first introduced to her, very much reminds me of what they ended up doing in Arkham City and Arkham Knight.
Ben, looks like you were going to say something.
No. I mean, what was that doctor's name? Woodrow?
Dr. Jason Woodrow, yes.
Jason
Played by the great John Glover, a.k.a. Lionel Luthor.
Right where I was headed. Yeah. What other Disney movie was he in?
Shazam.
Shazam.
He plays the dad there. And then now obviously we got the top billed actor of this movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who Chris O'Donnell says he hung out with a lot offset and at the premiere and stuff, but never actually never did a scene with them on set. You can tell.
Okay, let me just say this real quick. I'm sorry, Ryan. I like all the one-liners. He did not belong in this movie, in my opinion.
This was a weird portrayal of the character because it's like you try to do two versions at once. You've got the serious gravitas of the Batman the Animated Series, while at the same time you're also portraying him with these puns, like the Otto Preminger version from Batman 66.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they should have just done one or the other. They should have just stuck with the Nora Free stuff because that is the more interesting stuff. Kind of kept them more grounded instead of being punny and.
I do get that. I think it's also another downs. This once again drives back down. This once again goes to the negative side of studio interference, or at least with the company itself, because of what happened with. I think it's because of what Burton did for Batman Returns. They were no longer going to do the whole kid gloves thing, or at least give the director free creative use. Schumacher, who I still think to this day is unfairly and unrighteously being trashed by these fans.
Agreed. Well, since he died, I will say that appears to have changed.
Yeah, when he's died, but when he was still alive,
right.
he was still unfairly trashed. Well, even actually, I still come across fans who will still trash that film even when he's dead. But I'm just saying, when he was alive, and I will even add George Clooney into this. Why are fans trying to hound these two men so much to make them apologize for something that technically is not their fault and was out of their control? Sure, Clooney accepted the role of Batman. The last time I checked, actors don't have to apologize for roles they did they knew, unless they knew it was going to offend the audience, or unless they did not think it was going to offend the audience. I will say best examples. No, not examples, but let's say right now the whole thing with LGBT characters. That Hollywood is casting straight actors to play queer characters instead of getting queer characters to do that. That is a reason for actors. Oh, yes. So many puns, man.
Of course.
We will get about it. But I will say, just along this fandom side of Batman and Robin, this movie does still highlight the toxic aspects of the fandom that exists.
Of course.
And even then, with new Batman films, with new content, new shows coming out about Batman, you even just drop Batman and Robin. It's like the debate with The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker and Star Wars, or the prequel. Actually, the prequels are getting less hated on, but even then, you just drop in these movies, you see the absolute worst of a fandom. And I'm not trying to be on my high horse here. For years, I trashed this movie. For years, I said this was terrible. But you know what happened? I got over it. I realized that studios don't give a fuck about what I want. Exactly.
And one of the things I want, like going back to what you said about like they shouldn't be apologizing and stuff, but that you can transplant that to say sports. When a coach gets fired, it's not the coach that's underperforming; it's the team. Yeah. But it's the coach that's made the scapegoat. It's because that is the face. That's why George Clooney and Joel Schumacher got all the brunt, is because they're the face of the franchise. The people don't know. I don't know back then.
Top build in this film. Right. He was able, and you do make a great point. You do make an excellent point. The people I'm saying, the people that suffered, which was Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, and Alicia Silverstone, and Joel Schumacher, apparently the good guys. The bad guys walk away scot-free. So this fandom needs to question themselves. You're hating the good guys, while the bad guys. I'm saying hypothetical and all this.
Okay, because this is the only Batman movie where the villains survive.
Yes.
It is.
This is actually another great point I was going to bring up. This is not only the only Batman film where the villain survives, but this is the only Batman film outside of Batman 1966, and I'll even say Lego Batman, where Batman doesn't consciously or through proxy kill a villain.
Exactly. Because in
Batman
89, you've got the Acme factory explosion. In Batman and Robin, when he shoves the bomb down the fat guy's pants and pushes him down a hole.
And he also unleashes bats on Penguin to where he falls through a glass ceiling to where his throat gets cut.
Yep.
And then Forever, he repels his Batmobile against a brick wall while 4 of Two-Face's goons' cars crash and explode, and then kills Two-Face by throwing coins in the air.
Yep. This one, there's nothing. Batman Begins, Ra's al Ghul with the train.
No, he didn't kill him. He didn't save him.
No, but he also kills the fake Ra's al Ghul and a couple of League of Shadows assassins by blowing up that headquarters.
The Dark Knight is got an asterisk because of Heath Ledger's death. Yes, he technically survived the movie, but we never saw
Oh,
him.
I'm thinking Harvey Dent in that one. He does.
Oh yeah, no, Harvey Dent for sure lets him die.
Now, to be honest, people can say, "Oh, but he had a gun on a kid." Yeah, but Bruce Wayne shot his grapple gun. I'm not doing no what ifs or like coulda, would, shoulda, coulda. He only jumped and tackled Harvey Dent. Of course, he had the kid in his hand, so he saved the kid. So Harvey had to die. But and then the Dark Knight Rises. What happens there? He
Bane dies.
Yeah.
Talia dies.
Yeah, Talia dies. A bunch of the goons in that cop fight and cops die as well.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's Batman's fault, but he is responsible by proxy because
then you've got there. Of course, then you've got Batman v Superman with the guns in the car.
Yes.
If you watch the extended cut, he throws the guy so hard against the wall, there's blood.
He does stab a goon after he gets stabbed. So it's when you see these examples of Ben Affleck Batman. I know I can tell this was a joke, but even then, I come across these fans who are going to be pissed off at Batfleck. We're going, seriously, look at these movies. Your childhood's not precious. Your childhood was shit. Your childhood was dark. Your childhood had a lot of gore, blood, and guts in your favorite shows.
Batman has been killing since the creation of the character. I have the story in an archives collection where he hangs a mentally ill person from his plane to stop him killing. He hung a man.
Yeah. And I will say this with Batman the Animated Series, there are episodes where there's dark moments to where Batman, like one episode where a computer or an android has the full personality of Bruce Wayne Batman. Mm-hmm. That scene within the cave where he goes against the android, Bruce Wayne knowingly fakes his own death to emotionally and psychologically manipulate this android into thinking he killed someone, leading for the android to kill himself. And that android is supposed to have Batman's psychological profile. So if that scene enough doesn't tell you exactly where Batman's mental state is, come on. And then, of course, everyone brings up the killing joke where everyone thinks that Batman killed the Joker at the end of that comic book. So make up your minds.
Right, there's that one. And then let's also not forget Tower of Babel from Grant Morrison's JLA run in the 90s, where it's revealed Batman has a contingency plan. And this was done in multiple different versions of the universe as well. Batman has a contingency plan in case any member of the Justice League goes rogue. He's got a way to kill each and every one of them. Yes. So yeah, I'm with you. Save the Batman doesn't kill thing. He will kill if he needs to.
Yeah, we're not trying to be on our high horse here, people. We're just saying that this whole thing with Batman is very hypocritical. That's why when everyone wants to say, that's why I'm just saying, every Batman film, you just take it with a grain of salt, see what the interpretation they're going to do, and then you can walk away with it. I mean, that's why with this new Batman film of Robert Pattinson coming up, I am very interested to see exactly what his Batman is like. It's obvious from the trailers. He's very brutal, the way he fights and the way he drives that Batmobile around.
Mm-hmm.
But
here's the thing I mentioned, that this is where he hung someone in 1939 or 40, one of the two.
Man, we don't know if he... Never mind.
Are you going to break the ice, Ben?
I don't know if we don't know if he actually died or not, but... Yeah.
Well, I'll show you the full thing. Hold on, just give me a moment.
Oh, looks like then you might feel a cold shiver going down your spine now.
He hangs them, and once he's dead, he cuts the rope and lets him drop. Batman, folks.
Batman reflected the times, everybody. Mm-hmm. That's why when you say he's your favorite superhero, look, this is honestly, Batman's kind of one of the best examples. It kind of reflects our choices on our favorite heroes are, because in like real life, you have no idea the dirty laundry of a certain figure or someone you choose to follow or claim as your role model. So Batman really should be
if you want a perfect example of this, I know a lot of people shit on this book, Identity Crisis by Brad Meltzer. It shows just how far people will go to protect themselves, and in the book, it's revealed the Justice League mind wiped Batman.
Yes, Identity Crisis, yes.
I love that book.
That did lead Batman to create Brother Eye, which led to a whole other fucking situation.
Yeah, exactly, which is where Tower of Babel comes in. But anyways, let's get back to the movie. Let's hop on to the vehicles. We're going to start with Robin's bike, the Redbird. Pretty rad, but there is no way a bike can drive through a wall and put out a perfectly executed symbol.
No. No.
Unless he's doing this with his arms, there's no way.
I kind of like that. It looks pretty cool.
No, I agree. It's a pretty rad looking bike, and it is something that Robin has had. He's had his own vehicle before. This is a toy I don't think I had, actually.
That's one thing I did appreciate with this. The Robin gadgets and the Robin the Redbird. It was just so good. That's why I like the whole thing with Batman, that he trusts Robin enough to where Robin has his own toys as well. Because you see Batman, he got his little bat-shaped everything. And guess what? Robin's right behind him with his own Robin gear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no.
It does show the partnership between the two of them. And another thing I will say that I do love with Batman and Robin is the continuation of the arc of Bruce Wayne from the 89 Batman. Everyone wants, there's a lot of people that are going to want to say these don't connect, but they do. Not just because they have the same actor, but they also reference a lot of stuff from previous films. Batman Forever does reference the Jack Napier killing his family, even though he's a shadow figure, and it does still lead itself in as well, because they do bring up Chase Meridian by line in this film.
And they have Joker and Riddler's costumes in Arkham Asylum, which also connects them.
Yes, so
which is weird. Which is weird that not Joker and Riddler's, Two-Face and Riddler's, which is weird because Two-Face died.
But there were some playing cards, I believe, in there. Something in reference to.
I think so. Yeah, and I have to double check, but I read Jason's Mask. I don't know if that's a wild theory or not, but
it may be wild. But what I'm saying is that, to continue what I said was with Bruce Wayne's character arc from 89 Batman. When you're introduced to Bruce Wayne, he is pretty much kind of like a social shutout. I mean, sure, he's holding balls and humanitarian events, but other than that, he doesn't go out much. He pretty much practiced that scene with Vicky Vale after he sleeps with her. He's doing calisthenics to fall asleep. Instead of lying in bed with her, he needs to hang upside down to fall asleep. And then in Batman Returns, he is sitting in a dark room waiting for the bat signal to spring up. And the only time he's Bruce Wayne is to handle stuff for Wayne Enterprises.
Mm-hmm. So when he's talking to Max Schreck and all that stuff, yeah.
And even then, the way he's approaching Max Schreck, it's almost as if Batman is approaching a criminal. Like he just immediately throws the evidence at him instead of being coy. You can tell that Bruce has no social life. He doesn't understand candor. He doesn't understand to hold things back. So that's why I like with Selina, you kind of see a little bit of a brighter side to Bruce Wayne there, because vibes with him. Then when Batman Forever comes out, this Bruce Wayne, he actually is more public, because not just with Wayne Enterprises. I mean, yes, that one scene of Wayne Enterprise, but even then, he's well known amongst his employees. I mean, sure, Nick was obsessed with him, but even then, he's being very diligent with his company. He is smart enough to realize something's bad with the whole box, and he's also mentally well enough to know that when he's having the fucking issues of repressed memories showing up when he's awake, he goes to get help.
And there's a lot of that stuff that was cut from the movie as well, where they delved into his psyche.
That's why I like with Batman and Robin. This is, and I'm going to state it, the most healthiest Bruce Wayne, mentally well and healthiest Bruce Wayne we are ever going to get.
Yeah, the closest for sure.
Yeah, because look at him. I mean, sure, he's trying to understand, be a mentor to Robin, which is good. That's something we have to come across in our own lives when we have someone we live with or someone we're teaching. Yeah, he's trying to learn those ups and downs. He has a girlfriend, of course, of the model Elle McPherson's Julie. But even then,
Batman's first girlfriend's in the comics, Julie Madison.
Yes. Yeah. I'm gonna get to my point. To those in the chat wondering, this tangent has a point somewhere. This has a point. What I'm saying is that Bruce Wayne, he is more. You see more Bruce Wayne in this film than you do Batman.
You do.
And even his fireside chats with Alfred are fantastic, because taking back to the past of their relationship, on how much he has grown as a character. So when Alfred is laying there dying on that deathbed, well, when he's slowly dying, Bruce Wayne realizes that he can't control everything as Batman, but Alfred does tell him Batman is how you fought death. It's how it was your way of trying to live. And I love that genuine back and forth between them when they say, when he says, "I love you, old man." Mm-hmm. That felt like a young boy thanking a butler who honestly had no reason to look after him, but chose to stay behind him.
Well, I'd say more than a butler. I'd say he was saying thank you to his father.
True. Yes, that is true. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if you look at the outside context, especially from Barbara Wilson's point of view, that's just a butler and employee relationship. But that shows it's more than just an employee relationship. It literally is a family. And even after that, it leads into Bruce extending to Dick Grayson on fully trusting him, fully being a partner. So if you're telling me that this doesn't connect, then God, you really have to look at this movie and not roll your eyes every 5 minutes.
It's not that it doesn't connect. It's just there's a lot of side streets they take to get to the point. That's the thing. It's very convoluted. It's not that they don't hit their mark. It's just the route they took.
Agreed. Yeah. And and that is a very solid point. There are some stuff I felt that could have been cut from this. There could have been a few things that could have been shaved off to help smooth the transition. I mean, I would have preferred more instances of Poison Ivy trying to play the mental head games against Batman and Robin.
Yeah, and personally, if it was just one villain, we would have gotten that for sure.
Or honestly, as much as I kind of like Alicia Silverstone, cut the character of Barbara Wilson.
Agreed.
And I mean Batgirl entirely. Cut Batgirl out entirely and make it Batman and Robin. That way, you get rid of that motorcycle fucking race.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I just found out? Actually, the Coolio has a cameo, right?
Yes.
Well, that's supposed to be Scarecrow.
Yes. Jonathan Crane.
That's wild. Like, okay. But yeah, okay, let's get back real quick to the vehicles. And now we have, which is one of my least favorite Batmobiles for one particular reason, and that is the lack of a cockpit, which means that Batman is open target for a sniper.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's ugly.
Yeah, and honestly, the way it's designed when he's sitting in it, it does look like a toy. It looks like he's too big for the Batmobile.
I know. It looks so weird. It's like he had to crouch himself all the way to where his knees are literally touching his chest so he could drive the car.
Right? I'm trying to see if I can find a picture of him in it, because it's just... Yeah, you guys can keep talking.
Yeah, Ben, you have anything you want to bring up? I know I've been talking so much. I mean...
Yeah, okay, this is the closest one I could find. Just give me one moment. But yeah, it really looks like a toy. Like, they got what they were going for. There are parts of it that I think are cool, but yeah, it is not my favorite Batmobile.
I'll be honest, the suit, the Batmobile, and everything about it, the look of Batman look so uncomfortable in this movie.
Which is funny because apparently this was the most comfortable suit of all four. It was made of rubber, which unfortunately kept ripping a lot. Yeah. Was it they estimated that between Stuntman and Clooney, they went through like 70 suits?
Wow.
Yeah, it shows that the suits just weren't cool enough for anyone to wear.
Oh, no, it's not that. Just because it sounds like they were incredibly restricting, especially in the earlier days. That's how the famous term.
Talking about the scenes I think it was on Conan O'Brien a few years ago. Chris O'Donnell was on the talk show. They were talking. Apparently, Chris O'Donnell still has his Robin suit.
Why not? It's a cool looking suit. Yeah. It's so much so they actually they gave Nightwing that look in the New 52, minus the cape.
Yeah, it's too bad that Chris O'Donnell just got he got his feathers clipped during this production. I would have loved to have seen him soar in the sequel to where Robin was going to fly to his new heights. That I would have loved to have seen him fly.
Well, do you guys know who is supposed to come back in 5?
Well, for the planned sequel that Schumacher had in the wing, Chris O'Donnell was meant to come back as Robin. He was that Coolio's little cameo was meant to come back in that film as well. But then also he was going to have Madonna cast as Harley Quinn, who in his version was going to be the daughter of Joker into sidekick.
And
Or-
you're talking about the Joker would have returned as a hallucination.
Yeah.
And they're also talking about possibly merging it with canceled Nick Cage Superman to make it a universe, which is probably why they use the line, "This is why Superman works alone."
Even then, I thought it was a great add to it because it felt to me like it was a good tease that there could have been something more.
Well, not just that, it's 1997. Oh my God, they know each other. Like now we take that for granted, but back then we never had crossovers in movies, right?
No, I think that could have been possibly an opportunity. I mean, of course, it couldn't have happened with Christopher Reeve because he was paralyzed at that time.
Yeah.
But still, it could have been fun maybe to see Margot Kidder show up as Lois Lane, or
that would have been cool.
Or maybe if Batman went to Metropolis and he went to their prison system, you could see Gene Hackman as Lex. I mean, he's still too old, but
I just realized we did skip talking about Batgirl.
let's talk about her.
They should not have made her. I understand why they made her Alfred's niece, but no. And that's another one.
They wanted to avoid the writing of her being the commissioner's daughter, but trying to give excuses to why she keeps going to Wayne Manor so Commissioner Gordon doesn't sniff around. I go,
yeah.
Then just make her an original character who becomes Batgirl.
Yeah. And also nothing against Lily Silverstone. With what she had, she did a good job. It's just unfortunately the character was all over the place. You couldn't quite read her.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but I could really understand him with his accent. Because he was Alfred's daughter or niece.
I could never tell if that was an accent or not. I just thought that she was trying to do Valley Girl.
Well, doing some reading, there was something cut where Alfred explains to Bruce that years ago he met her mother in a city. They had a romantic fling. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. She had a daughter, and when the parents died, he became her guardian. As that's how she became her niece. So apparently, they're not blood related.
Yeah, I get that they're not blood related, and it makes a lot of sense too. It's just that with her involvement, they had to take so much time to make her character important to where I thought the story could have focused more towards the Poison Ivy playing mind games with Batman and Robin, or hell, give Mr. Freeze more time in the film. Because I do remember in Batman and Robin, there was a deleted scene to where Mr. Freeze's fall was actually caused by a CEO or I'm thinking of the Batman animated series.
That's animated series.
Yeah, but there was teased that there was more to Mr. Freeze. What happened to his wife though in the proposed script? Like it wasn't just more he put her in cryogenical stasis and then the accident happened. It could have been to where Mr. Freeze did that out of desperate measures, and him going to crime is because he was framed. Because I think I can't remember where I read this, but it said in one proposed script after when his wife's body was presumed missing, there was a slander against Mr. Freeze that he killed his wife, which explains that scene when Batman and Robin find her. They're like, she is alive. That little line drop. I'm going, wait, did they not was she considered dead the whole time? That was a little thing that popped up in my head. Like, was Nora considered dead after that accident?
That would have made much more sense.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Of course.
I know this quote, which is your favorite Batsuit.
Ooh.
I will actually go with Batfleck.
Honestly, I kind of go with Batfleck too because all four of these kind of have a good. I mean, Bale's honestly looks the more realistic. Actually, no, Bale.
No, I think Pattinson's looks the more realistic now.
Yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is I think combat function or so. Like Bale's kind of looks like it's good combat function, but after seeing some trailers of Pattinson's Batsuit, like he's trumping Christian Bale in almost every category.
Oh, 100%.
But with Batfleck, what I like is that can you bring that photo back up again with Batfleck?
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the outfit, the gray on that suit. As you can see, like it's the color grading along with the texture inside there. It does look like this is a suit that's kind of like like so much material has been interwoven and within the fabric to where
It
it
looks
can
like it was
almost
made to protect you, but also be as flexible and breathable as possible.
which why it makes sense for that scene when you see Batman in the fucking corner hanging like a vampire near that policeman, and then he starts using his hands to climb along that way. The fact that he's not getting hurt by shotgun shells says a lot. And also, I love that scene when he gets to the Batcave and Alfred is testing the voice modulator inside the cowl. Like that suit almost looks like it can hide so much electronic mini cameras or micro sensors or sonic sensors in the fiber itself that he doesn't barely need to use his tool belt unless he is going to throw out a grappling hook or a batarang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like. Here's the thing: they all look pretty dope, but for me, it's the Batfleck one because it's the closest to a comic book costume.
Yeah. But I do like how each of them is trying to be their own suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I'm a fan of Keaton's, but that's just me.
I'll give the first Keaton over the Returns Keaton for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually have a question to you, gentlemen. I want to ask you guys.
Gentlemen,
I know, of course, you guys had to do some rewatching on this film.
Yep.
On your rewatches, was there anything that you noticed or like an opinion you had about the film before you rewatched, like something that was with you for the longest time that you are probably kind of walking back on? Because, like, for me, my biggest issue was the whole portrayal of Dick Grayson. And then I walked back on that for rewatching this film a couple of times.
Not really. I will walk back on. I do not dislike this movie as much as I did going into it this last time. Mm-hmm. But in terms of like characters, my opinion of Poison Ivy, like before it was just like it was okay, but now I think she did a good job in it. I think that's probably the only one. Is I think she, looking back on it, she did a better job than I gave her credit for.
Yeah.
Not what Matt on, but I like the music.
I did on the soundtrack, and oh my god, that Smashing Pumpkins song is awesome.
Yeah, the song is great. I think that's one of the reasons why that motorcycle race was there, just so they can have one of the Smashing Pumpkins song play. But even then, I'll even admit I'm not as harsh on the ice puns anymore.
That's fair.
They're still cringy. They are still cringy, but I now like to have fun with it.
Take it for what it is.
And you know what I found is fun to watch with a group of friends.
Yes.
With a drinking game or some kind of thing along with it. Like,
Oh god, if we'd have done that drinking game, I would have been in a coma within half an hour. I looked up the rules. That looks like it hurts.
It's almost as worse as doing drinking game to the room, honestly.
That or Batman 66. I do know people that have gotten alcohol poisoning from that one.
Robin does.
Every time they say "holy something" or what have you, it's there goes your liver.
I actually took notes. Robin does say "holy" almost every time he's on screen. So
yeah, it's. But I what the heck was I about to say? I do agree with Ben. This is not a movie I will go and like, hey, watch it on my own. This is a movie where you sit down with your friends and you do your own riff tracks.
Yes, agreed.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's definitely one of those group gathering movies that make you laugh at. So at least they did something good there. Yeah,
I think it's a fun movie, but for all the wrong reasons.
Agreed. Yeah, it's like one of those. It's so bad, it's enjoyable.
Like it's intentionally fun, unintentionally funny.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like I get the whole thing with the puns, with Poison Ivy being a plant freak to especially when she's walking away, she's like Batman and Robin, animal protectors of the status quo. Once I clean their claws, I'll have Gotham will be mine for the greening. Those kind of lines. It does seem to me it's meant to be kind of cheeky, like, you know, it can't help you make you smile, but it's kind of unintentionally funny to where, oh my god, this is terrible. That kind of reaction you get from it.
Yeah. Okay, boys, real quick. Elephant here. What's the best Mr. Freeze ice pun?
Ooh. Okay. I mean, my instant thought is what killed the Denver I say, but I don't know what it is, but it's delivery when he says chill to perfection.
Tonight's forecast, a freeze is coming. I like that. Yeah.
If you see the camera where it's like Batman's looking into a mirror to narrow the ice laser to the ice laser, and then he just pops up, and the whole thing is focused on him. Oh, with the whole like blue glow in the dark teeth, which
which is actually the image I have right here.
Yeah. I think I learned that was supposed to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger had to do like some type of like UEDs or something in order to get his teeth to have that glow, but they kept leaking, and so Arnold did have like staining on his teeth at some points in the film, which is why in that moment when he's laying on the ground, it honestly looks like the leakage of the battery was getting onto his gums and skin.
Oh, that would explain that. That is another weird scene for me is when Batman captured him the first time. It's like, was he a vampire? Like,
actually, one thing Arnold is entertaining in this film. Unfortunately, this is one of the downsides to where you give Arnold a character to where you're not pitching it the right way to him of Mr. Freeze, but then it's still like, but we don't want him to be too dramatic because no matter how you spin it, Mr. Freeze, he's not meant to be a comedic character. He is very tragic. I understand they wanted to make him lighthearted, like, oh, he's enjoying, like almost he's a little mischievous, or he's like, or he's being childish with the ice buns, him treating his goons like crap, especially in that scene where he's wearing polar bear fuzzy slippers in a night robe, having them sing to
he's Mr. White Christmas, he's Mr. Snow. What's the
he's completely ignoring the suffering of his goons for his own enjoyment. That's the thank you, Ben.
Well, you never answered. What is your favorite pun? Or did you hear it? I say I missed it.
No, I didn't hear it. No, I can't think. Chill out.
Chill out, or he's definitely got quite a few of them. A lot of eye rolling, but
let me ask you guys: did they add that pun plot to Mr. Freeze because they got Arnold Schwarzenegger?
That I don't know. You'd have to ask Akiva Goldman.
A part of me thinks that I think that was always planned for Freeze.
Maybe.
Because I'm trying to remember what kind of...
It would make sense if they were trying to make this more for kids to tone down the seriousness of Mr. Freeze by making him kind of a jokey character. It would make sense if he was written that way first.
Okay.
But I can also see why it was done for Arnold, because in Commando...
Hey, Arnold, I mean, he's not king of one-liners.
Right, yeah. Like I said, just look at Commando, and there you go. Get to the job.
I mean, it's funny with Commando, like it's very honest and open of what it is compared to other films that he's done where he has those one-liners to where he doesn't say them until maybe like 30 minutes or even more over an hour into the film. Like, I'll be back. That's not until like the midpoint of the film. And then Hasta La Vista Baby, he doesn't say it until like near the end of the film. So it does play to me like with Batman and Robin, and this is going to be my last take on this, to where Batman and Robin, or at least with Arnold Schwarzenegger, how even though I understand there was some righteous hate towards this film, it's just now the fact that it's still circling around in the pop culture as being one of those films people just love to shit on or drag through the mud being so good it's bad. In all honesty, I was taught a long time ago, and I think should stand now, if you don't like something, don't talk about it.
Exactly. So, and that's I'm with that too. If you don't like it, that's cool. Move on. Yeah. There's other things out there for you to like.
Don't dedicate your time in order to break down something and go, this is why it sucks. I will go back to Star Wars. I can't stand the Rise of Skywalker. I just don't get it. If it comes up in conversations, I'll talk about it. But I'm not going to take my own personal time to Google this movie, to learn the behind-the-scenes stuff of this, to justify an opinion I have. If you love it, okay then. I want to hear from you why you love it, and I'll give you my opinions why I don't like it if you're willing to hear them. I'm not going to force it down on somebody and just say, no, your opinion's wrong. It sucks. And you should bow and you should acknowledge my compliment. You should acknowledge my comment.
And that's at that point where you rip off their bat balls.
Yes.
And on that note, it's that time. It's that time because in an hour we got something else coming on this channel, so we definitely have to go prepare for that. Ryan, thank you very much for joining us. I knew you were the guy to come on with because I know I've seen you argue in favor for Forever and Return, so it was good to have your perspective here for these movies. Because you definitely made me reconsider a few things about Batman and Robin.
Thank you. Look, and I said this before. At the beginning, when I was a teenager and I had those friends that hated it, I was one of those who was a follower. I'm like, I hate this too. But you get older when you're separated from those influences and you come across this film again and you wonder to yourself, why did I own this in the first place? Oh, I actually enjoyed it. Or, it's not as bad as I think it is. So, I mean, I understand when we have a group, when we have friends, when we have a group that we want to be a part of, you kind of you hide certain opinions and tastes you have in things because you're afraid that they're just going to boot you out. It's a common universal thing. Nothing new about it. I'm sorry, guys, to burst your bubbles there. I mean, I'm sorry to break the ice in that situation. I didn't want to leave you frozen in shock. It's just that.
Oh my God.
It's just that. It's just that. Sooner or later, you're just gonna have to realize yourself. I need to look at these ice cubes of friends I have and crush them before they ruin me. I'm trying to shove more ice punts in here and make a point, but it's not working. All I will say is, actually, to quote a wrestling personality, I think we both know, Soda. Like what you like. Don't be a dick.
Who said that again? It was not CM Punk.
Ryan Zane. You don't follow Wrestling with Regret?
Oh, I know, but I've seen a lot of his stuff.
Well, that's one of his little things he says in his videos. Like what you like, don't be a dick.
Which is exactly like it takes way more effort to be an asshole than it does just to Yeah. But on that note, Ryan, where can everybody find you?
Well, everyone can definitely find me here on Northern Entertainment Group with Ben co-hosting Mount Schmodown. If you guys checked our most recently, we did an episode last Saturday for myself, Ben, our old running pal John DeGreggio. We had Jess and Taco on with us as we all had this great hangout roundtable. We got to sit down with John Roca, the Outlaw, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, props to Ben for being able to get Roca on as the guest, and Roca being an absolute just pleasure to have on there. It was amazing talking to him. We're hoping to get an episode out this Saturday. If not, check us out. Just check us out again on Saturdays at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And when the Schmodown starts kicking back in the season, you guys can find me on Northern Entertainment Group on Fridays discussing, reviewing, breaking down Schmodown matches. I mean, may do that for the pay-per-view coming up between Smets and Chandru. But beyond that, other than the Northern Entertainment Group, you guys can I have a wrestling podcast that I co-host with my friends Brenton McPherson and James Shimo. It's called Wrestling Ramblings and Rages Podcast. It's available on Spotify, Anchor, Podbean, Anchor. I said Anchor already. Yeah. Yep. I'm trying to think of Stitcher. That's it. Stitcher and Google Podcasts. We don't have a lot of episodes available because of time scheduling, but we do have 2 episodes out to where we did our best and worst of 2021. So give a listen and get to hear what we thought of what was the best and worst of wrestling of 2021.
Definitely go check that out. I was with them for a little bit when they did the Royal Rumble rewatch. That was fun. I kind of wish I was able to come back for the rest of it, especially the men's Rumble.
Oh my God, we were kind of mad on the men's Rumble until the last 6 numbers.
Yeah. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, you can. I'll tell you where to find me in a moment. Ben, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me right here on Rewind That Tape every Tuesday. On Saturday, Mount Schmodown, Sunday gets ready. Mount Schmodown.
Not get sweaty anymore, Ben. Remember.
I'll let you talk about it. I'll let you announce it. I never really have. Northern Unwind is on hiatus for a little while, but we'll be back. I think that's everything, right? I feel like I'm forgetting
For you,
something.
yeah, that's everything for you. And as for myself, you can find me on personal Instagram and Twitter at soda_the_saxman. You can find, I'm actually on 2 wrestling podcasts. You can find the one on Art at Work, The Squared Slice, which made its return last night. Myself and Dustin, we went over just some of the stuff that's happened since we were on hiatus. And you can also find me Saturdays at 2 p.m. Pacific over on the Let's Get Ready Network on the Dropkicks, where myself and my co-host Dagan S. Broad, we discuss the week in wrestling. Which is always a lot of fun. You can also find me on this channel here every Thursday night on Rewind the Tape. Some Saturday nights producing Let's Talk About Star Wars, producing Northern Unwind when that's on. And so, yes, we Get Sweaty is still going on, but we've changed the name, and it is coming back with a new name. It will now be known as the Northern Countdown. Same format. Same personalities, everything. We just decided to rebrand it so it would be more in focus with the crew. So definitely check that out, and we will have our new logo ready to go by then. So don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and this channel. Don't forget to follow us all on Twitter. Leave your comments and tell us what you think of Batman and Robin, what is, like I said, universally considered one of the worst superhero movies, but also one of the most important superhero movies, because if it wasn't for this one bombing, we wouldn't get Batman Begins, which is
we're talking about next week.
Exactly what we're talking about next week. So until then, we will see you on the same bat channel, same bat time on Rewind the Tape on the Batman series. You all have a good evening, and we'll see you next week. Oh, before I go, in under an hour, it is the 5th all-night taco stand. I can't believe I almost went without.
Yes.
The Civil War, Taco and Kiwi are going to be fighting over who takes control of the show. And for tonight, we're going to do a very special geek tournament bracket. So tune in to watch that. It's going to be pretty cool.